Some call it paradise. All of us call it home, St. Lucie County. But look beyond the beautiful beaches, prolific construction, and rich history, and you'll find trouble in paradise. Trouble that many people don't want to talk about. Trouble that stems from silence. HIV and AIDS.
The first case of AIDS was a little over 20 years ago in St. Lucie County, and since then there have been nearly 1,000 deaths as a result of this disease.
Okay, I found out about my diagnosis in February of 1999. I started cussing, hitting the walls. I just didn't understand, how this happened, being married and just being a mother and just doing what every other normal person does, And
It was very shocking at first. Because I always had that attitude that it wouldn't be me that was infected. I mean, it's like I didn't know HIV was around. It was around since '81, but it had been a few years, and I still didn't use protection anyway when I had sex. So it was just very, very hard for me, except at first.
It can happen to you, and I just don't want to see the young people out there making that mistake. Because for a long time, we thought it was a white man's disease. But I know that I'm black, and I know I'm not gay, so you better take heed on what's going on in the neighborhood now.
In St. Lucie County in 2005, an average of 1 person per week was newly diagnosed with HIV. According to statistics from the Florida Department of Health for 2005, in St. Lucie County, 1 in every 700 whites, 1 in every 430 Hispanics, and 1 in every 35 blacks are living with HIV and AIDS.
We have information that says that it's affecting the African American community, but in affecting that community, it affects all of us as a community, because if we don't take care of this, it's a social issue, it's a financial issue regarding our community life and vibrancy, and it's also a spiritual issue that we need to address as quickly as possible.
We want to oftentimes think it's happening to everyone else or people outside of our particular environment. But the fact is, it's happening a lot in churches, it's happening a lot with the people that are in the churches, and so we can't keep our head in the sand. We have to do something that's going to work as a community to provide something that's positive to help people.
It's very important that we talk about it, and there's not a regular gathering any place like it is in the local church. Each Sunday, sometimes during the week, there is an audience that need to be informed about the seriousness of AIDS.
Certainly, HIV and AIDS impact adults in our area, but the disease also has a profound effect on some of our community's youngest members.
I reviewed a case at the health department. It was a 13-year-old girl, pregnant, but also infected with HIV. A 13-year-old girl should not have to die because we as a community have failed her by providing the necessary information to keep her safe.
We were asking the church congregation as to what various ways are there to get into a gang. And we had one little girl approached us, and she raised her hand. She said, well, you get sexed in, but I heard that you have to have unprotected sex with somebody who is HIV positive. And at that point, the entire church just went quiet because she was 11 years old. And she knew this. We didn't even know that. It wasn't until after that that we, got more interested in the topic ourselves and found that there have been substantiated cases of that actually happening in our city.
It's something we must confront. It's something we've got to be able to do. We have children who are being impacted by the illness and the death of loved ones and family members throughout our community. This is something that, as a whole community, I believe we've got to come together. We must be able to find solution strategies from the young to the elderly.
Experts agree the biggest weapon against the disease is education. That begins with knowing how HIV and AIDS are transmitted, and more importantly, how it can be prevented.
HIV is transmitted through only a couple of ways. It's not through mosquitoes, it's not through anything other than sexual contact with somebody who's infected, or through sharing needles, or from mother to infant.
When we talk about prevention of HIV, we really talk about the ABCs, and it's really pretty straightforward. A is for abstinence, and abstinence is, in the strict sense, just meaning abstaining from sexual intercourse. In the larger sense, it's abstaining from intercourse until marriage. Ideally, if someone is tested for HIV, if their partner is tested for HIV and they're both negative and they have a monogamous, intimate relationship, then transmission of HIV is not an issue. The B part of ABC is to be tested. By being tested, you can determine whether you have HIV infection or not. The C part of ABC is condoms. Using condoms regularly is another way for people to prevent transmission of HIV infection.
Thanks to advances in modern medicine, those who have the disease are living longer. But the stigma surrounding HIV and AIDS remains, and the disease continues to ravage millions of lives every year.
What I remember the first time I saw one of my friends, become infected with this disease and die from it, it was one of the most horrific things I've ever experienced, watching a person go through that kind of suffering, and nobody should have to go through something like that. It's totally preventable.
People aren't discriminated against because they get cancer. I don't see why people are discriminated against because they're HIV positive. And if they say it's because somebody has made a mistake, we all make mistakes in our lives, and you can't say one mistake is worse than the other. A mistake is a mistake.
I've seen AIDS at its worst, and I say to those who don't have the disease, don't get it. Many of our young people think that it's a game, I'm not going to get it. It's like becoming pregnant, it only takes one time.
I would have been more careful because, like I say, I thought this thing didn't even pertain to me. But if I had known the numbers, if I had known the educational tools and stuff that was out here, I probably wouldn't be infected right now.
If you would like more information on HIV and AIDS in St. Lucie County, or to find out where to go to get tested, please call 772-462-3848 or visit the St. Lucie County Health Department website.